Hello, it's a new day and abundance is here. My name is Bisola Miriam and this is Clarity in Seconds. And today, I want to share with you my reflection from the past week. Specifically, my reflection will be talking about what I learned. We'll be focusing on what I learned specifically in the election that I was a part of. Okay, so I contested in a student election, and I contested because for three reasons. And so in this video, I'll talk to you about the three reasons why I contested in the student election and the three lessons that I learned from participating in this, election. So the very first thing I learned, okay, or the very first reason that made me decide to contest is one, to dispel stereotype. So I wanted to dispel this stereotype about women who are going through a divorce or going through divorce. Sometimes when you're going through life challenges, especially when that difficulty has to do with something that people often stigmatize, okay, there is this likelihood or this belief that such a victim of stigma or social stigma may have about whatever it is they want to achieve. So for instance, there's a stereotype that if you are going through a divorce, everything in your life will not go well. Like your life will be stuck, you can make progress. And this year I have dispelled many of those, stereotypes, because I have achieved so much more, even though I'm navigating going through a divorce process. And so the very first thing I wanted to, understand, okay, was the stereotype about people going through a divorce. And so contesting in that election was my way of dispelling the stereotype about people who go through divorce and the fact that everyone will hate you. When you're going through that kind of stuff in a culture where people actually stereotype or stigmatize people going through a divorce or other stigmatizing life issues, you may think that no one will support you or believe in you. And so contesting in that election was my way of proving that while you may be going through life challenges such as a divorce or a divorce process, girl, dude, people still love you. Like, people still believe in you. And my contesting was a proof that there were a lot of people who loved me, and who are still dying for me. Like, I could not imagine the amount of support that I got. Okay, so like the turnout of votes, the people who voted for me, it was unimaginable. It was so clear that I am loved, or I was loved, and I am still very much loved by a lot of people. And so I was able to dispel the stereotype that people would not support you, people would not like you because you're going through a divorce. Does that make sense? Drop a comment if that makes sense to you right now. So I was able to dispel that fucking stereotype. Sorry, sometimes I will use the F word, but I come in peace. Okay, violence is allowed, right? A little violence. So the second reason why I contested in this election was to carry out an experiment. Okay, so I have been reading a lot about narcissism or narcissistic people, and I wanted to carry out an experiment about narcissist or narcs. So when I say narcs, it's just a short form for narcissist, okay, or people with narcissistic personality disorder. So I've told you a lot about what narcissistic personality disorder is. If you want to learn more, simply just Google NPD, okay, narcissistic personality disorder. So generally, NPD refers to, these are people who are preoccupied with themselves. They are so power drunk, they are so full of control, they cannot thrive when people oppose them or people think differently. And so contesting in that election was my way of carrying out an experiment about narcs, okay? And so my experiment did turn out just the way, not exactly the way I predicted, but in fact, I was able to discover more than I thought I was going to discover. So let me make this even more specific. So during the campaign process, okay, people started saying, people who were supporting, the other contestants were going about saying terrible things. So the second thing that as I was saying, I wanted to carry out an experiment about narcs or narcissistic people, and it didn't. So my predictions were not. I had an hypothesis, and the hypothesis is, what would narcissists do in times of pressure? So my hypothesis was, one, I had an hypothesis, okay, and I don't know if I'm framing this correctly. I'm trying to think quantitatively, and so my hypothesis was, what would narcissists do when they are under pressure, and what excess would narcs or narcissistic people go to when they are under pressure, or they are controlled, or they are challenged, okay, with it. So one of such questions that, like, so now for that hypothesis, the first thing I wanted to test is, would they get angry? Would they use flying monkeys? Okay, that's another RQ. So the first RQ is, would they get angry? 2, would they use flying monkeys? Let's leave it there. Would they get angry, or would they use flying monkeys? Or would they try the third one? The third, or the RQ3 would then be, would they use power to restore, like, control, to get back their control? Okay. And so the hypothesis is, what would narcissists do when under pressure? 1, would they use flying monkeys? 2, would they try to restore control or power by all means, or get their power back by all means? And 3, will they use I can't remember my third RQ. If you forgot, I'll go back and check. Will they use 1, flying monkeys? Will they get angry? Yeah, get angry is the right word. And thirdly, would they use power or control when they feel threatened? Okay, so to answer those questions, like in connection with the hypothesis, I must say to you that some of these RQs, I think I was able to, like, test my experiment. The experiment kind of worked. And so the first thing I discovered in the process is, when I started campaigning, one thing that I discovered was, people who were supporting the other candidates were sending messages to people and making it look like I wasn't qualified to be in that race. I mean, to contest for that position. And they did it so much more that they were sending messages to some of my friends, and some of this information got to me. I'm not going to mention names, but I'm just using this to teach you that sometimes narcissistic people sometimes will go to any extent to try to make themselves look good and discredit other people. And so that was something that I was able to test successfully by contesting in this election. The second thing I was able to test successfully is the fact that they can get angry. And when you put them under pressure, they get really angry. And if they are not expressing the anger by themselves, they can actually use flying monkeys to express that anger. So I remember that post the election, I had questions, okay? And I think that as a human being, as someone who is like a financial member of an organization, you can ask questions, and I don't think people should even feel uncomfortable about you asking questions. But alas, some people took it personal and started making it look like, oh, making it look like I was asking those questions because I'd lost. Actually, it's okay to have diverse perspectives and not feel threatened in any way. And so it was so clear that some people literally got angry because I was asking questions. And so that also answers means that my hypothesis was one of my RQs. I was able to like test that successfully, and so they get angry when they feel threatened or when you challenge, them. So when you challenge, a narcissistic system, okay, they get angry. And so people who were saying terrible things or trying to get personal because I was asking questions, it just goes to show that, they just simply helped my experiment to work out. And so the third thing is they will restore like power or try to get their power back using every means. During this whole process, and because I kept asking questions, I kept talking. I know they keep quiet though. I didn't keep quiet. I didn't want anybody to intimidate me, within a patriarchal system. I am matriarchy myself. And so I didn't want to be intimidated. And so I kept asking questions. I kept challenging and asking questions. And guess what happened? The need to restore power, the need to restore like power back. The pressure was too much. Guess what? I was removed from the platform. The reason I was removed, I still don't understand. Now, was it because I was asking questions? Was it because those who chose to take me out of the group felt threatened? Really, I have no idea. But of course, I am making an official report about the way things have gone, even the way things went before the election, during and post the election. And I would be making, I am submitting, I'm working, not working, I have my petition, and I'm definitely, working to ensure that things are resolved in a way that is fair and just. Now, the last part of this video would have me talk about the 3 lessons that I learned from this process. So I learned 3 things, and the very first thing that I learned is the fact that, Now, okay, so let me also tell you that the third reason why I chose to contest is to confirm or disconfirm some of my thoughts about certain people. So even before the election, recall that in the past, I've posted on my social media and even in my story, like my story series, my childhood trauma and narcissistic abuse story series, that some people have been saying terrible things about me. They have made themselves like attorneys on my case, or, they become flying monkeys, spreading rumors about me. And guess what? I wanted to actually know, to confirm or disconfirm some of the thoughts I had about some of these people. And this election or the process just confirmed that the thoughts that I had, or the things that they have said about me, that I was still doubting, okay, it was just so clear in this process that actually those people didn't really like me. They didn't like me, and the things they were saying about me were true, okay? But the election just, helped me to confirm those thoughts that I had about many of them. And I was so happy that I actually participated in that process. And I must say to you that the other thing that I would say that maybe the number 4 motivation for running or choosing to run in this election was to build resilience, okay? So I wanted to build resilience in the sense that I know that there's so much going on in my life right now. Like, I'm going through a divorce. My ex-husband is not letting me talk to our children, and that in itself is traumatizing. And one thing that I've learned is we only heal by becoming more resilient and challenging and getting better in the process. And so getting involved in this very dirty, politics was my way of also building resilience. I must tell you that it was somewhat traumatic because there was just too much to deal with. Too much to handle in the process, but it was worth it because, one, I have built resilience again, and I'll keep building resilience. And one thing that I've come to realize, one thing that guides me, like one life mantra that I have, is the idea that I am this type of person that believes in not staying in our comfort zone, Okay, I would go to places where I am told never to go to. I would dare the very things that make me afraid. And in the process, it's either I win or I lose. And when I lose, at least I've learned lessons. And this was not even a loss. It was a win-win-win because I achieved everything that I wanted to achieve in the process, which were the 4 things that I talked to you about. 1, to dispel stereotype about divorcees, and 2, to carry out an experiment on narcs and on narcissistic people to confirm or disconfirm some of the thought that I had about certain people, and to also build resilience. So these 4 things are achieved and even much more. And in fact, I got content for maybe content that I can incorporate in my book that I'm publishing that I'm releasing on my birthday. And so the lessons that I think you all can take away from this, the lessons or the reflection that I have, from this process that I got involved in, which was the election, is 1, women have a long way to go. I mean, women have a long way to go. When I say women have a long way to go, like, we are our own problem. Many women do not support other women. They only pay lip service to supporting other women. I mean, I could not believe that some of the people who were antagonizing me when I was challenging the process, challenging, certain things that happened in the process, in the election, were women. I mean, I could not believe it. And I was like, gosh, why are you doing this to a fellow woman? Yes, I understand that I could not have been right completely in the way I went about, challenging some of the processes, or if not all, but it was out of place for the antagonism to come from women. I mean, it's so unfortunate that happened, and was it painful? It wasn't that I expected anything different, but it was still painful because I feel that some of these women are actually, 1, educated. I mean, we're in a civilized, we'll say we're in a culture where, women should support women, and all these things, all this women advocacy thing that we do, supporting and saying Happy International Women's Day to ourselves. Yet, we're lying to ourselves, because we really are supposed to stand by each other and not try to be antagonistic. And so that was something I also, discovered in this process, and I thought it's important to share that women have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. And it's also interesting, let me tell you this for free, that I have also found women who... So the other thing that I want to share is why it was really, traumatizing, that some of the people that I expected should have been more proactive in being indifferent, or like not being indifferent, but like responding to the way things were playing out in a way that just simply showed that some people just came there to single out one person and find fault in one person. That person is me. I realized that even though I said that women have a long way to go, what I'm also gonna say to you here is there are actually women who will stand up for other women. They don't need to believe in their ideas. They don't need to agree with them completely, but they will just solidarize with other women. And I saw that also play out in the election that I participated in, meaning that I had women who were not even so close to me who left, after I was removed. Some of those women also left that platform, okay? And some of those women I still were still in touch, because, okay, so as I was saying, even though, I said that we women, we really have a long way to go, and sometimes we're each other's enemies, and we even antagonize ourselves in a system that is already patriarchal. We solidarize with, we stand on the side of patriarchy without even realizing it. And it was so clear in the election that there were women who, for some reasons that I don't know about, Maybe because Bisola Miriam intimidates them, I don't know. They just, in quote and unquote, were beefing me and solidarizing with the patriarchal system that was in place in the process. And so they worked against me, literally. But I also realized that despite that, so I'm saying that other women also solidarize with me and, challenge the system, either by leaving the group or even, asking more questions about the process and the way in which things was beginning to look as though I was the problem. So I'm happy that there is progress in that area, because all women cannot sleep and face the same direction. Some people actually stood up and spoke against the system and the things that they also noticed, and some even left the community. So the other thing is, I want to also say that passion is contagious. Passion is contagious in the sense that when you're passionate about whatever it is you're telling or doing, it is most likely that you would get support from people who don't even know you or who never knew you. Throughout the election, guess what? I went from room to rooms, hall to halls. I used the traditional campaign method. And guess what? I was passionate about it, and people saw my passion, my drive, my ginger, my energy, and they were just so excited. And do you know what? Many of those people, because of the passion, guess what? They were asking me for link to, they were asking me, when on the day they were supposed to vote, some of them were saying, they can't log in, or is there any way I can help them? Just to show that, because I had, giving them the picture, the vision, I shared the vision with them. They were really excited about just getting involved and actually supporting whom they believed in, which of course is me. So passion indeed is contagious. If you're passionate about whatever it is you're doing, see, people will fall in love with you and they will die for you. And I must say that people were willing to die for me in the process, during that process, and even afterwards. And so the last thing I want to say is, do not trust everything that you see or hear. And the last part of this video, which is why I actually contested. So today I have answered the first part of that question. I'm going to answer the second part of that question on my book launch. So you all would actually know for a certainty, the other reason why I contested in this election. And I would tell you why. And I must say to you that the reason why I contested, which of course the other reason why I contested, is to teach people that we should not trust everything that we read or hear, see or hear. How does that even make sense? When you come to my book launch, when you join my book launch live, online or on site at Bryan Conference Center, I am going to share with you the other reason why I joined this election and why I wanted to also teach people that it is. So, as I was saying, the last part of this video is that, or has to do with the third lesson, which is the idea that we should not believe everything that we see or read. And I will explain this in detail on my launch, on my book launch, at my book launch, where I will be explaining to you what I mean by we should not believe everything we read, everything we see, and everything we hear. Because as a matter of fact, there were things that people believed about me, or there were things that people thought were actually, completely correct in the process or when I contested for this election, but they may not actually be what they think is the reality that they saw or was portrayed. But what exactly do I mean by that? I'll tell you more about that idiom or that parable-like statement that we should not trust everything that we hear or see. And I'll see you on my book launch or at my book launch on May the 31st at Bryant Conference Center, or you can join online. If you want to come or be there live or in person, simply go to www.bsolamiriam.com/becoming Okay, so if you want to come to my book launch, simply go to www.bsolamiriam.com/becoming and I cannot wait to see you there. Okay, I can't wait to see you there, and I love you, I care about you, but most importantly, I believe that we can win the war against narcissistic abuse, toxicity, masculinity, or the TTT, or any system that would oppress women or oppress marginalized people or those in the minority. Abundance is here, there is no lack. And if you found this video useful, make sure you share and drop comments. Take care. Bye. I'll see you next week. Bye.